Welcome to We Are the People. This is Jacob Milton. I'm doing a special edition since this is the election cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, every week sometimes we talk about a subject that affects the life of simple human beings, citizen of Queens County, citizen of other counties, as well as citizen of this country. Sometimes I become lucky to have some important people who play a vital role or who would like to play a vital role to have a normalcy in life of every human being living in this county or outside of the county. I was being asked by several people that in upcoming Queens Borough President race, I should interview a couple of people. I was holding myself back for the last couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, I was tired of it because some of the election cycle, people, all those political candidates are coming to the community and says, we are going to do this, blah, 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 after they got elected. As a matter of fact, they don't deliver nothing. That's the culture of this country. And not only this country, that is the reason, as a matter of fact, citizens start losing faith into their political leader. Because they realize that it's just a lip service. They're coming and they're saying something, but at the end, they're not going to deliver it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think every one of you almost certainly knows that Miranda, who was a borough president of Queens County, she got elected as a Queens district attorney. Since she left the office, now her office is vacant. Now someone has to go to occupy that office, and there would be a special election. So there's a bunch of people running for Queens Borough President. And there is, every county has a Democratic Party, Republican Party. Since Queens County is a predominantly Democratic county, and their Democratic Party of Queens County has a little bit of leverage. They're nominating someone they choose. And that's not a democratical process. The way they're selecting a candidate, it sounds like mafia people sitting down inside their office and grab a couple of dollars and nominate anyone they like. That's the way they are doing it for the last 20 years, 30 years, since a guy named Joe Crowley was the chairman of the Queens County Democratic Party. Even he was not a resident of Queens County, living in Maryland or Virginia, running Queens County Democratic Party. And now it's no difference. One of the gentlemen, I call him my brother. His name is Congressman Gregory Meeks. He's heading the Queens County Democratic Party. I don't know whether he's trying to clean up the house or not, or he's running the same on the same track the way Joe Crowley was running. Anyway, that's a different conversation. My community, South Asian community, they asked me, or my organization, We Are the People, and my organization, Bengal Democrat, whether they're going to support anyone or not. I says, I'll support somebody if I see that there is a click, that a gentleman, honest, I'm not, listen, at this time and age, where we are going to find an angel that who is perfect? So I try to find someone who is close to the perfect, that he has the right intention, he means what he's saying, that he's going to deliver it, and then hope for the best. That's all we can do. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm lucky to have two guests on my television program. And one of the guests, I was dying to interview her for a long period of time. I was too fat, probably that is the reason she didn't come to my show. But this time, I just put all my effort so that she comes to my show. Ladies and gentlemen, she's no other than Virginia Ramos Rios, campaign manager, who managed campaign for today's famous Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Viji, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jacob.
You look beautiful as always.
Thank you very much.
I like even your lipstick, the way you put it.
Thank you.
And on my right side, and the gentleman I was referring to, the gentleman, his name is Anthony Miranda. He's a retired police officer. He was working for New York Police Department for a long period of time, as well as he was the ex-chairman of National Latino Officers Association. On the other hand, he was the chief of police for ACS. ACS means Administration for Children's Service. When the gentleman decided that he's gonna throw his hat to the race, I was kind of optimistic that this is the guy who has the first-hand experience, how to take care of the city, how to take care of the county. I wish he's running for the governor. I wish he's running for mayor. But hey, he chose to run for borough president, and I welcomed him. And today, I'm lucky to have him with me at the right side of me. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. Anthony Miranda. Anthony, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
I wish you were running for president or you were running for governor or something. You are qualified. You are really qualified to run. You can manage any office you're running for.
Thank you.
VZ, lots of people are running for Queens Borough president. You know, I wouldn't say for the last 10, 15 years, politics in Queens County a little bit polarized due to the Queens Democratic machine or some other issues. Record shows that sometimes they're nominating some people. They have no connection with the people. People don't even have any comments or opinion about the candidate. They just throw a name. What is going on? Do you have any idea?
Well, when I came onto the scene, part of what I started learning, and I started early, was just that here in Queens especially, we've had remnants of what, if you go into the political history, of Tammany Hall. Meaning there was a very top-down process within the political sphere, especially in Queens, and there was a Democratic Party that determined who the candidate was going to be. And this goes back prior to Crowley. This is like 30, 40 years, and it comes from that early time. And other parts of the city have managed to eke out a little ways on it. But until recently, if you talked about running, people were like, you can run, but you might not even get on the ballot, because they actually deploy experienced election lawyers to knock people off of the ballot.
And they're doing it purposely, so that no one can challenge their candidate. That's what they're doing.
It's very insidious, and I just come from a philosophy: let the electorate decide, let the voters decide. And if somebody makes an effort to go out and collect petition signatures, let's accept those and let them be on the ballot, because ultimately the voters get to vote. Let them vote. And that's part of the movement that I've been a part of. And one of the reasons that I actually connected with Mr. Miranda was that he and I were both very much on the front lines of, like, we need our people in Queens to know, to be reminded that their vote matters, that they actually hold the power, and that they have the right to elect their representatives and not have them selected for them.
You went to school, you went to college, you went to university, you studied political science. Do you call itself a democratic process the way Queens Democratic Party is selecting a candidate?
It would be more of a Republican process, in that it would be a republic that you have elected leaders that are supposed to represent you, and they cast votes for it. But even in that kind of process, the idea would be that those leaders would at least poll or in some way know what the desire of the people they are representing would be. But in the most recent one, where they actually selected who they were going to give the Democratic Party line to, I would say that most of those district leaders did not have an opportunity to really get a sense from their constituents who their constituents would like them to support. It was really quick. My understanding is the mailing went out on December 23rd. The meeting was held on December 30th at 8:45 a.m. And for a lot of this country during that time, it was a time of vacation. I mean, we had New Year's coming up. I don't know how many of those district leaders would have had an opportunity to speak with their constituents as to who they really wanted.
So is it very fair to say that it's a mockery of a democratic process?
I think that's a fair statement.
Thank you. Mr. Miranda, you heard what VZ was saying, the way Queens Democratic Party or machine, they are picking up a candidate. How do you feel about your candidacy when you declared your candidacy and see this polarization, see that weird process of selecting a candidate without having even get an opinion from the district leader? How do you find yourself? Where do you find yourself at this time within this process that there is no law, there is no democracy, there is nothing, no philosophy?
Well, the machine process of selecting and endorsing a candidate has been very corrupted. It has not been open. It has not been visible to the community. There's no disclosure, very secretive. I think that has to change. The district leaders, they represent
the district.
The district. They should have been talking to their constituents, and that's their neighbors. They should have been consulting their neighbors in their neighborhoods and saying, where would you guys like to vote? What should I vote for? They don't do that. The current machine process is always top-down, and they decide. So the elected officials, the party chairman decide who they want to. They tell the district leaders, and then the district leaders then tell the people, this is who we're going for. That's a corrupted process. It was never designed to operate that way. But over the years, the corruptness of it has turned it upside down. We're in the process of reversing that back, and we're giving the power back to the people. And I think that's what the VG just spoke about. It was like, how do we empower people now to gain control, not of the machine, because we don't want to do what they did. What we want to do is, there should be no machine. There should be an open dialogue, an openness, a full disclosure about the information, and everybody should know about all the candidates. And I think everybody fairly declared everybody who wants to run should have the opportunity to run.
And their name should be in the ballot.
And then let the people decide, because then either they convince people. I look at it this way. If you were doing your job, then you wouldn't have to worry about an election. Because the people that you've always done the work for, they will be helping you. But now, if you haven't done your job, and you've been neglecting your people, then you have to be concerned. And that's what you're currently facing now.
Two things is really problematic. VG was telling us that they assign professional attorneys to knock down the candidate's name from the ballot, number one, and you use one word, says corrupted. Queens County Democratic Party's selection process is corrupted. Are you referring to those corruption they're involved with running a criminal enterprise to selecting a candidate? Is it be too much to say that they're running a criminal enterprise like a mafia and they're the ones selecting, shoving someone's name and this would be your candidate? Is it fair to say?
Again, it would be stretching a little bit, right? Calling something a criminal enterprise. It operates on the same concept as a criminal enterprise, where information is dictated. But they're not selling drugs. They're not. That's what they're selling.
When you are saying, Mr. Miranda, you have to say it. Either it is legal or it is illegal. Having a corrupted system in a political process, those are criminal acts.
Well, what they're doing is they're selling influence.
So selling influence is also corrupt act.
Right?
Listen.
So the system is built that the entire process never gets challenged.
Yeah.
So if you don't empower people, which we had years, this didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
This is years of conditioning through administrations and administrations where they've intimidated people and prevented people from running. They prevented community people from organizing.
Those are legal? The job they're doing, they're influencing people, try to push their candidate using influence, those are legal?
The process itself is, you could say, it's illegal in what they do. It's a matter of interpretation also, right? So what they do is they take the gray part of the rules, and the gray part of the rules don't say you can't necessarily not do it, but it doesn't say you can do it. So they operate in the shadows, right? Which is what they're talking about. They're not operating out in open where people can see what actions were taken, how were these decisions made, and who was involved in it, because that would be openness. So they'll never operate on that level. And that's why we have a campaign that we're running, to cause the openness. We want to make sure that every time there's a discussion about changes going on in the community, or who's going to run for office and what the dynamics are, everybody on the table, everybody in the community, information should be out there. We should all be able to read it. If it's on TV, we should all be able to see it. And then we have an open and fair dialogue. You don't have to intimidate people. You don't have to threaten people. They do investigations on people's families every time they run for office. That's an intimidation factor.
So if you don't call itself a criminal act, then why are we going to say corrupt? Like, I'm trying to differentiate between corruption and criminal act.
Criminal act, by the law, would say this is violation of law, right? A violation of the law as you read it. Now, when we say it's a criminal act, there's criminality involved in it because they're selling influence.
Well, let me ask you one technical question. A white-collar crime, someone goes to the, fill out some form and getting a couple of dollars from the bank and not paying, and then there is a criminal charges against him because he pulled a couple of dollars. And here, Queens Democratic Party, they're getting benefit out of the candidate, and some of the candidate has right to run for public office. They're not letting them to run for public office, knocking their name out. If it is not criminal act, then what are the criminal acts you're talking about?
They created a process with very strict limitations. Even the petitions, if you draw a line a different way in a petition, it eliminates the petitions. The petitions also have to be designed in a certain way. So this is not something new. This is a system that has been designed
for number of years, as busy referred to.
Not to allow people to participate in the process. They want to limit the people's voice in this entire process. So what we're saying now is there's an opportunity, a fair and equal opportunity to empower people. We're awakening the consciousness of the voter and saying, believe in your vote. Because most of the time right now, people have lost faith in the process. Why do I vote?
Yeah.
My vote doesn't count. Why do it, right?
Yeah.
But the last election was lost by 60 votes, right? But we have 1,200,000 registered voters in Queens.
And the total vote was 76,000. What is the rest of the vote? Means people didn't come out and vote.
Because they don't believe in it anymore. So what we're talking to people is you have to believe in it, because when you don't exercise your rights, then you're making a decision anyway. You're still making a decision. You're empowering the people, the corrupt people, the people who are abusive, the people who don't listen to you. You're empowering them by not participating. So our voice says participate at all levels of government. Participate. Make sure you're being heard. 1 million people, 1,200,000 people come out and say, we want change, then you have change. But what they count on, and what the machine politics and status quo counts on, is that people aren't going to get involved. We can't afford to do that again.
So you are saying, even though that process system is corrupt or whatever it is, no matter what, you have to come out and vote, exercise your right to clean up the system. That's what you are saying.
You have to exercise your right. Not good. People say, well, I don't want to participate. Not participating is a decision. That is the decision to empower those people who are corrupted, or people who are abusive. Now, if I exercise, again, if you have 1 million people voting, all of a sudden the dynamics change. Because you can't sell favors anymore. You can't do favors for a small group of people. You have to do your job. And doing your job means you have to fully represent all the diverse communities that we have here. So that's why we're stressing. There are over 1,200,000 people. Everybody come out and vote. We're also stressing there's 2,764 county committee seats available right now in Queens. And we're telling all the people in Queens, 2,764 seats, call our office. We're going to help you get into those elected positions where you have a voice at the table, where you're making decisions, and you can no longer be closed out of the doors. We're doing that in every community. Every community we walk in, we want to identify people who say, I want to be involved. I just don't know how to. County committee seats, 2,764. That's the backbone of our campaign, that we're going to fill all those seats and have people get elected to office, not appointed. Because county counts on nobody running, so they get to appoint people. And then if you don't listen to what they say, they fire you. But if you're elected to the seat, then they
cannot fire you.
They cannot fire you, and you can exercise your opinions and your rights, fully exercise your rights. We don't want halfway democracy. We want full democracy, full openness, full disclosure, and we want to empower the voice. When we get to Queensborough president, the objective is not to get there alone. The objective is to get there to make sure we have a mandate of the people.
Absolutely.
We need the mandate of the people, because that's always been the strength behind all the things that I've done in the last 30, 40 years of community activism. The strength comes from the people. Not from the political machines, not from individuals, but the strength of the people. They're the ones that provide you the ability to go forward. And you can withstand any investigation. You can withstand any abuse, because there's 1 million people with you. That's the power. The power is never in the elected officials. They want you to believe that they have all the power. And I tell you here today, as clear as day, this is the opportunity where the people need to show that their voice matters and they have all the power. And if we truly exercise it, when we send a message here in Queens, we're going to send a message nationally, because everybody's paying attention to the politics in Queens now. We had Ocasio turn the tables, upset the system. Nobody expected that. They took it for granted. They took the people for granted, because she came with activated people, people who were motivated. When you have motivated people, you can do anything. Yeah, exactly. She came with motivated people. They exercised their right. Boom, they run. Caban ran a strong race. She won the race in the streets. And the polling sites, she won. It's in the back room with these absentee ballots that the machine took back the position. We can't afford to let that happen anymore. That's why we say we don't want it close. It should never be 60 votes. It should be 1,200,000 people deciding they want to vote for Anthony Miranda for Queensborough president. And when we go with that mandate, there's nothing that they can do that can stop us from doing the work of the people.
6 or 7 candidates, or probably 8 candidates, are running for borough president. Mm-hmm. Okay. Out of all 6 or 7 candidates, I think out of 2 or 3 candidates, most of the people are already holding a public office. Like Donovan Reacher, he's already a city council member. Jimmy Van Bremer, I think city council member, Costas, he's a city council member, Elizabeth Crowley, who was a city council member, and I think she was a state senator or assemblyman in the past.
I don't know her political history, but I know that she was a city council
member,
and she lost her last election. Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether it is a logical question or not. Some of the issues they are saying that I'm going to achieve these, I'm going to achieve these for the county of Queens. But my question is, they already had a position to achieve a lot of things. Right now, Donovan Richard, Costas, Jimmy Van Bremer are enjoying the position of city council member. They are occupying the office. Why they are not achieving those things while holding that position? And now they're running for borough president, says, I'm going to do this. Now, if you cannot achieve those things as a city council member with some executive power and leverage, how are you going to achieve those things becoming a borough president? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, there's a couple of things, and I'm going to parse it a little bit differently in that they don't have the same responsibilities, but I'm actually going to quote Mr. Miranda on this, in that if you're really fighting on behalf of the people, it's not just the people in your district when you're in this city. And you have the ability as a city council member to introduce legislation that can impact across the board. The thing that I see, and this is mine opinion, but these folks were working within a system that they had to, in order to even get there and get things done, my understanding is that they had to work with the machine to one capacity or another. So that's what I have witnessed them do. But to Mr. Miranda's point about if the top down isn't saying we want this to happen and these guys are trying to work there, I think they could make an argument saying, hey, we didn't know how to fight this. But what I'm looking for is a leader who has been out there with the people and who has been fighting this and who is willing to stand up, even in the face of the machine, like is willing to fight the powers that be, even though when those powers seem to have control over you.
Housing, they're talking about Medicare, they're talking about education. Okay. Some of the subject, they're making a promise as being a candidate for borough president. They don't have any leverage on those subject, but they're just promising just to win. It's a lip service. But they have currently a little bit of leverage as a city council member, because they're sitting down in a different committee to help healthcare, education, some other things. If they fail to do so as a city council member, how they're making a promise to the people in Queens County that being a borough president, I'm going to achieve those?
I don't know the answer to that, Jacob. I truly cannot answer that. That would be a question that you would have to ask them.
But does that make any sense to you?
It does not make sense to me, but I'm not able to answer for them.
Mr. Miranda, you went to a forum yesterday, and there was a candidate named Daniel. He's an Asian candidate. And he was an expert in city maps and other issues. He was really good. I was watching that forum on a Facebook, on a YouTube. It's there. When the gentleman says he's an expert in map of the Queens County and he's a map guy, when we are referring someone a map guy or math guy or history guy, means they're expert on that field.
Yes.
There is no negativity. Like if someone is expert in mathematics, he or she should call herself. They can take a pride that I'm good at reading map. I'm good at doing math. I'm good at reading history. Is it a crime?
It is not a crime.
Is it not a crime? On the forum, I saw a couple of candidates were making fun of Mr. Daniel. What is your opinion? Should we consider it as a discrimination, or they are showing their prejudice openly in an open television?
Yeah, I think it was quite insensitive and prejudicial to start referring to him as the map guy. And in fact, they not only called him a map guy, we won't think if I call you as you're a historian. I say it with that level of respect.
Yeah.
They didn't say it with that level of intention. They said it with the level, he's the map guy. I think it was a joke. So they undermined him. They undermined him on his profession and the fact that he was the only Asian American that was on the forum. Everybody has the right to run. And they can't be undermined or minimized simply because of their profession. We all came from somewhere. But in that forum, you had the candidates each make fun of him. And I was surprised that the community who was sitting there didn't react to it. Now they're going to tell you, oh, he called himself the map guy. Yeah, you know, he can call himself an historian. And again, if you refer to him with the level of respect and said, well, he's the map guy as an expert, then that would be something else. But when you say it with a certain tone of demeanor, of undermining him, then you're sending a message to everybody else like you're discounting him because of his profession and because he's an Asian American, one or the other. It's discriminatory, it's prejudicial, it had no purpose and no place to be in a public forum. And I hope they never do it again.
Vizzy, when Barack Obama ran for president, and in his statement somewhere he says, I study constitutional law. And if he called himself an expert in a constitutional law, is it something wrong?
No.
Then why people are criticizing, like last night forum? I think I saw.
You keep asking me these questions. I was not the person doing this. Ask me questions that I can answer, my friend.
Okay.
I can't answer the questions of why they would do that.
No, I'm asking you something.
Okay.
Why I asked that question? If I don't stand up in favor of my Asian guy who says he's map expert, I know this is not fair to him.
Right.
So probably that guy as a candidate, he couldn't protest. Don't you think you and me, we have a responsibility as the citizen of Queens County and says, hey guys, why you are criticizing him? He says map guy.
I think we do. I think Queens is what's called the world's borough. We're one of the most diverse counties in the world, definitely in the nation. And we have a right to and a responsibility to stand up for our neighbors in the best way possible.
That's the reason I'm asking you this question. I hope you understand.
All right.
Okay. And Mr. Miranda, lots of people are running for borough president, and I believe they are professional politicians.
Yes.
They know when to lie, how to execute a lie. They know it's pretty good. But seems like you're not good at it. Because seems like you are someone, tell the truth and become unpopular. You did the same thing while you work for NYPD. I know there's a lot of time, the way NYPD group or union or precinct is running, sometimes you saw lots of negative act and you try to protest it, you try to push them to do the right thing.
Yes.
You did your best in your life.
And we did. We organized an organization that went national. We took them to court when it's necessary to take them to court. We had them change, based on our activity, change police policies and procedures. And we defended the rights not only of the officers, but we defended the rights of the community as well. And we're talking about discrimination against officers of color, right? Because if you can discriminate against a Hispanic or African American or an Asian American or the women, right? Then you can, the same negative behavior, the same discrimination, same level of prejudice is what they exercise in the community. So it was very important that we organized and we stood up for ourselves. Out of that became a national organization because not only was it happening here, and here being New York City being the leader, it started happening in the police departments all over the world, and we were able to be that support mechanism. And that's what I'm bringing to the table when it comes to our community. Fixing and fighting for the things that are wrong. Fighting against prejudice and discrimination, opening the doors to allow people to have their voices heard. When we talk about housing and we talk about the overdevelopment of our communities right now, all of us live here in Queens and we see what's going on. Luxury buildings being built where the schools are still overcrowded. Luxury buildings that have no rules or regulations that all the elected officials allow. Because before buildings should have been built, we should have done a feasibility study to see what the resources are going to be available for that building. Dropping another 100 families in a community that's already straining for resources doesn't make any sense. But they all did it. And then you're talking about affordable. It's affordable. What does that mean? Affordable for who? Not affordable for the people that
They're
live here.
making it affordable, but it's not affordable in reality.
Right. That's why we say it has to be responsible building. Affordable is now a term that's been abused and misused so much that nobody knows what it means anymore. But responsible building says that, one, you build it, you make sure that we have the infrastructure to support it. Two, that we make sure how many actual apartments. There are 100 apartments is a real number. 35 apartments are going to be reasonable. And then what kind of apartments? Single bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, so families can move in. And third, we want to make sure that their first choices go to the people that live here in the community. Why build these buildings, make them unaffordable for us, and then have more people come from outside the community to live there? They didn't build it for us. They're not building it to support our communities. They have, all these builders have the opportunity to build a community center or some resources for the community in the project. But our elected officials, our city council people, all the people that are running for office right now, have all signed off on this and have failed to do their jobs properly. When we ask another question, somebody says, right now everybody says, I don't receive developer money. Right now, you say that because you're running for office. But you've been here 8 years, 12 years. One of the candidates said they've been around 17 years. So you've been around that long. Let's not talk about now when you know election's coming.
Yep.
Let's talk about how many years. Let's go way back. And then you'll see how much development money and how much influence they've had the entire time. And then the other city councilors, I didn't do this in my district. Right. You protected your little area, but you sold out the rest of Queens. You sold the real estate in Queens and allowed all the other communities to suffer. And now you want to say, now I want to represent everybody? You had an obligation as a city councilman or assembly person to represent the entire borough of Queens, that we shouldn't be doing things just for a select area. An area elects you to office, but you're elected to represent the entire borough and the interests in the entire, you're a political person. Your voice is heard, so it's not just about my one block, it's about my entire neighborhood. They were never looking at Queens as their neighborhood. They were protecting a small area, and they didn't care that they sold away everybody else. They didn't care the conditions that they created in any other community. But now they say they care. Election time, now they care. It's too late. And the people know it for what it is. The people have seen them. They can judge them by their actions, not by what their words are saying for the future. Judge them by their actions in the past. I always welcome people to go research me. I've been covered in every major magazine, every TV station out there for the community service work that we do, the police reform work that we've accomplished. So I'm researchable, but I get judged by my actions and my things that we were able to achieve as an organization, not politically motivated, because it was the right thing to do to help people in the communities.
Do you find yourself with a little pressure that people has the expectation that VG Ramos is not just running a campaign, she is running a campaign for the right people who can deliver? Lots of people ask me after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got elected. Lots of people says VG did a fantastic job, and there was a lots of job offer. I know that lots of people came to you that they wanted you to run their campaign, but you become really picky.
I've always been very picky. I mean, I tend to choose candidates that I admire and I can learn from. And it's regardless of age and experience, it's about people who I see who really are looking to make a change and build part of a movement. That was the thing that attracted me. And like, actually, talk about picky, campaigning is hard, it's long, it's arduous. And I was kind of in the, I need to go back and do this as a volunteer and find myself a nice office job and do that to get paid and do this stuff as like my passion. And then I got to meet Anthony. And I was like, I cannot leave at this juncture when there's the chance. He's right. People are looking at Queens. I actually got invited to go and speak in parts of Europe to talk about what happened and how we woke up and how were so many young people getting involved. And part of that is that there's so much hunger for this across the globe. And I was just like, if we have the chance to continue this process, I want to be a part of that. And if I can help in it, then I'm going to do it, at least to the best of my ability. I will say that when I'm doing this stuff, the candidates themselves are really the ones standing and holding. The people are electing the candidate. I'm a part of this, but it is the candidate who holds that moral ground and who holds the stance and who is the one who will represent the people. And so I am careful about who I work with. And it's very much because to me, this is something more than just a job.
You also hold a position as a chief of police for ACS, and you fulfill your responsibility very successfully. Lots of people would be more comfortable to see someone who already did something very efficiently. At this time, you are running for borough president. We are almost out of our time, but I would like you to look at the camera. Just tell the citizen of Queens County exactly why they would vote for you.
I believe that there's an opportunity that we're all facing right now, an opportunity for the community's voice to be heard like it's never been heard before. Historically, we might have been neglected or denied, and it says today, together, it's a partnership. A partnership with VG Ramos, partnership with Jacob and the different communities. It's a partnership that empowers people, not politicians and not elected officials. It is about the voice of the people having a chance to make decisions at the table. We are sick and tired. I tell people I'm a parent like you're a parent. I care about my kids like you care about your kids. You care about your family. I care about my family. When we start thinking about the basic needs and the basic things that we want for all of our families, it's at that point that we come to a common ground that says that all politics and titles aside, you have to look at who do you believe is going to be representing you and bringing you to the table so that your voice is heard. I have a record of doing that. None of the other candidates can say that they have consistently done the job that's required. And all the conditions that we're facing right now are as a result of neglect, because somebody wasn't paying attention to their job, or they were too busy doing somebody else's job, but they weren't taking care of our communities. There's an opportunity for change. There's an opportunity for success. There's an opportunity to get all those things that we need. Stop the overcrowding in our schools. Stop the overdevelopment of city land. Get hospital structure that is not failing us. All the hospitals currently in Queens are rated at C level. That's horrific, because that's where our families go to for service, for emergencies, and they can't even get assured that they're getting the best service possible. That's neglect. That's somebody who took their eye off. I mean, they may have good intentions when they first started their jobs, but they lost sight of the prize. And the prize was defending people. The prize was people saying, I'm glad that you're there. Thank you for doing the job for us. Not for themselves, but for the people. We have a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to the partnership. Visit our website. It's Miranda 4 Queens, number 4. We're talking about partnerships. We're talking about relationships. We're not talking about just for election time. As I sit here today, I'll be here again whenever I'm invited. And as I visit all the houses of worship throughout the community, I tell them all the same. There's some places I've gone to and said, we never saw an elected official come in here. I couldn't understand how is that possible. But I did make this promise. All the places that I go to, all the doors that have opened for me, all the doors that have invited us in, we're going to go back. After we win the seat, we're going to go back and we're going to make sure that this is a relationship that's going to last for a long time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jacob, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda. Vizzy, you love people. You like to help people. And at this time, you are managing campaign for Mr. Miranda. I'm sure you did your homework and you exactly know why you are supporting Mr. Miranda. I'd like you to take a look at the camera and say why people should choose Mr. Miranda over other candidate.
Okay. Just like you, I'm a resident of Queens. And when I was considering who was running for Queens County Borough President, I took a look at who was there, and I wasn't seeing anyone at the time, actually, even now, that was fighting this machine aspect and that was looking to build up and pull together all of the various corners of Queens to be one and to work together. When I got the chance to meet Anthony Miranda, I saw someone who had been doing this work without a title for over 30 years, who had been actually standing up to the powers that be forever. I mean, from the moment where the powers that be actually controlled his job. And I was like, this is something that we need right now. We need somebody in the borough president's office who is willing to stand up, who's willing to speak out, who is willing to be that advocate for all of us and actually fight the fights that need to fight in order to set us on a trajectory to really be the world's borough in a way that we come together and are a place and an example for how the rest of the world can do the same. And that's why I decided to go with Anthony Miranda, and I hope that you will too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And definitely in the future, I'm going to drag you again.
Okay. I look forward to it.
Mr. Miranda, thank you for coming to the show. And I'd like to interview you the day they're going to declare that Mr. Miranda is the next borough president of
I'm looking forward to that interview. Thank you so much.
Why I have decided to support a candidate who can be a better borough president in Queens County based on some of the information I have collected. Most of the candidates, especially those who are running, they are already holding an elected position. They are already a public official. Now, if someone is a city council member, he should have achieved some of the things they're saying, he's saying, or he or she is claiming that they're going to achieve. Why they didn't do it while they were holding a public office or still holding a public office? And they are saying that right now as a city council member, I couldn't achieve it, but I will achieve it when I'll become a borough president. Don't make any sense to me. On the other hand, when you are controlled by some specific group, then that person is not using or exercising his own agenda. He is exercising the agenda of that corrupt entity, Queen's Democratic Party's missionaries. The day I met Mr. Miranda, I knew he was a retired police officer. He was a sergeant. He was executive chairman of Latino Police Officers Association, as well as he was the chief of police for ACS. I thought this is the guy who had been tested by the system, as BZ described, that without a designation, he was doing a job like a public official. And if the gentleman comes up to your door and says, hey, I can fix the system because I have a track record. To me, after having a long conversation with my friend Vijay and some other folks, after talking to Mr. Anthony Miranda, I think he will be one of the hell of a good borough president of Queens County. I'm not saying very cautiously. My hope is there. His quality is there. Everything is there. So my audience, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, I would ask, if you hate me, that's between you and me. But for the sake of Queens County, we should elect Anthony Miranda. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. I'll see you next time. Take care.